Cool. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bradford Cloud User Group April meetup. Today we've got two talks, one by Nicola first, and then the second one's going to be by Shabazz. So yeah, Nicola, over to you for your introduction.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I've got to do the old-fashioned share my screen, so bear with me, guys. I want to just share one thing. And we're doing time screen. So, okay, thumbs up or acknowledgement, you can see my screen. Great. Okay,
Yeah.
and just to let you know, I can't see any of the chats going on or people's faces, so I'm now talking at myself. It's very awkward. So hi everyone, thank you for inviting me actually today. So I was very keen to talk to you about the latest buzzwords around artificial intelligence and the fact that it's coming to us. And I wanted this session to be around how I feel, or hopefully I can give you some top tips on how you can help your colleagues truly embrace AI rather than fear it. A little bit about myself. So my name is Nicola Graham. I've actually been in IT my entire career. I started in sales, I moved over to project management, and I'm now in business change management. So probably like many of you on the call today, I've seen a lot of changes in my time. But I've also seen the impact that it's made to our colleagues, and recognize the support that they've needed throughout that journey, and that's essentially what I've moved into now. So I always call this my brag page. This is very much about the fact that I am an internationally recognized business change management expert. I actually have written a book about business change. I like it that much, apparently. It's known as Build, Excite, Equip, and it focuses on how you can actually apply change within your IT projects. I do have lots of experience consulting around lots of different companies, including the top 4 consultancy firms, FTSE 100s, local government, our NHS service, and also global organisations. So I've definitely been around and seen a lot in my time. I've also got all the accreditations that you need. I'm trained in all of the change stuff, all of the project stuff, and I consider myself a bit of a change management influencer. So I've got a YouTube channel. It's actually a new one, and Shabazz has been helping me out on that. So yeah, that's obviously a way to follow me and some of the top tips I give around change management. And also I have a podcast that I would welcome you to listen to if you so wish. I actually own my own company these days. My company is called Be Change Limited, and essentially through my career I decided to move out of being a business change manager focusing on one project and change the way that we do projects. So my focus and what my book is about and all of my services is focusing on upskilling project teams to do the change activities. So essentially guiding people, especially in the project areas, on the IT areas, on how we can tweak a few things that we do now to improve our engagement with the end users. So that's about me. Before I jump into this, and actually I've realised I can't actually see you anyway, but just a question for you: who here is currently rolling out some sort of AI tool within their industry or within your organisation? Not sure, Simon, if you can let me know if we get any yeses. Just curious to know.
I'll let you know if we do. We're using like GitHub Copilot for doing coding things.
Brilliant. Okay.
Which has been like really useful.
Fantastic. Okay. How about anybody else? Anyone else using things like Copilot?
I think as an organisation where I work, we are using it. I'm personally not, but yeah, I think they are using Copilot.
Right, fab. Okay.
Yeah, same here as well. We're using Copilot at Microsoft, so it's Copilot, Bing, Copilot for Office, all that stuff.
Fantastic. Okay, let me ask another question. Who uses AI at home? In the personal space.
Yeah.
All right, let's go the other way. Does anyone not use it?
I don't think I do. I don't have like Alexa or anything like that.
But Shabazz, you also use vidIQ, so technically you are using
okay.
AI.
All right, touche.
Okay, that's great. And today I wanted to focus today's presentation on AI. my first go-to when I was going to create this presentation was to focus on Copilot, but to be honest, I don't want to do that because it's bigger than Copilot, and I don't think we should hone in just into Microsoft space. So do bear with me. I'm going to refer to AI tools, and I'm not going to be. I'm going to try not to be so specific. Now, this is not me teaching everyone here to suck eggs. You guys know a lot more about AI than I do, but I just wanted to set the standard of what we consider this conversation to be. What is artificial intelligence? So essentially, it involves creating machines that can perform tasks requiring human intelligence, such as recognizing speech, making decisions, translating languages, and identifying patterns. There's two recognized AIs. There's the narrow AI and the general AI. And just for clarity, obviously, general AI is theoretical at the moment. We do not have this currently. So we're going to focus today's chat around narrow AI. So what are examples of narrow AI? So obviously narrow AI exists amongst everything that we do and all sorts of industries, but focusing again on IT specific industries. So when we go through today's chat, it's going to be talking about things that we are either seeing now or we will see within our technical industries. So that's things like chatbots for the IT help desks. It's obviously our automated testing tools. It's personalized recommendations in applications, the security monitoring and threat detections, and virtual network assistance. Now, again, this is not an exclusive list, so if there are other narrow AIs you have, then great. But that was just some examples for you. Okay, so I've stopped teaching you with crayons there, which you don't need. I'm now going to discuss about how we can prepare ourselves and also our colleagues to work alongside the smart machines effectively. And this was very much inspired from a conversation that I was part of recently, which got focused. So it was actually the EUC forum, and we were having a roundtable conversation around. I'm going to use the word. So you know, we really want Copilot, but you know, the licensing costs are so high, and actually, we can't really get the business's buy-in to that. So from a tech aspect, obviously, some of you already mentioned that you're using it to help with your coding and things like that. But you know, rolling that out to a business, it really needs to sell something to the business. Okay, so I'm going to come in to this presentation today focused on that part, and then hopefully leave you with some next steps. So let's talk about our colleagues. Obviously, we're highly technical people. We've been understanding AI for, gosh, years and years and years. I remember the first conversations I had about it really truly coming into action. But what are our colleagues thinking? What they're thinking is fear. So they're thinking things like job replacement. If AI comes in, I won't have a job in the future because some robot or an AI system is going to basically do it faster and cheaper than I can. They're going to think things like loss of control. So if we create robots that can make their own decisions, what happens if one day they don't need us anymore? That's very much the iRobot movie fears coming in. Social isolation. I know I've had this a little bit myself. You know, everyone's talking about these virtual assistants and things like that. I'm always talking about the human connection. You know, our kids, they're so plugged in now. You know, do we get that face to face? You know, do we get that interaction with them? It's a natural fear. Existential risks. So what happens when AI becomes more intelligent than us? Arguments could say that is. What happens if they view us as a threat? What happens if AI wipe out human race? So obviously a lot of these fears, I think they come in naturally because we've watched too many movies, it's fair to say, but I also think they're validated fears. So I'm going to talk about what's known in the business change world as a change curve. Now, it actually stems from what's known as the fear curve, and the fear curve was created by a doctor called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she actually created the fear curve based on observing end-of-life patients and watching the way that they responded and the kind of behaviors that they had as they went through the later stages of their life. And so from that, there's many different subjects subject matters that have taken that fear curve and they've been able to apply it to any kind of human fear that we go through. So in the industry of business change, so i.e. our colleagues go through change curves a lot of the time in their lives. And essentially what it is it's based on a 4-stage. The first stage is just at the start, the simmering of that change that's happening to them. And this applies to anything that they're going through. Obviously, today we're talking about AI. So let's talk about your colleagues that are just hearing this news about AI. They've got the fears that we just spoke about. And what happens is they go into this status quo. It's basically a denial stage. So they're relatively positive, and but they just don't want to hear about anything you've got to say. So if we take a step down for a second and point out, maybe you're already starting to have those conversations in your organization to say, look, we really need to get on board with the AI tools. And actually, you'll find that everyone kind of goes, oh, yeah. You know, because they're in denial. They don't want to believe it because they've started fearing it already. And then what happens is they creep into this stage 2, which is disruption. And they start to get angry and fearful about this change happening to them, i.e. they start worrying about losing their jobs, or they worry about the machines taking over, or they're not going to see their grandkids anymore, because they're fearing in this stage. And what happens is they get into this really negative state. And when any colleague is in that negative state, they start to really push back and resist any change. So bringing it back to AI, you're trying to introduce AI into your industry. Actually, what you're going to find is if people are in this stage 2, then they're not going to just be ignoring you. They're actually going to be quite abrasive to you and quite shut the door, not going to be interested. Oh my goodness, 20 quid per license, no way, go away. And then as obviously people warm to this idea, let's face it, you know, the media is all talking about AI. We're having large conversations in the whole world about AI. People will start to explore and accept that. And when they start to explore and accept that, they begin to come into a positive stage. And then they go into a rebuilding stage, which is basically they commit to it and they say, all right, come on, I'm willing to give this a go. Now, primarily, whenever you're working with anyone, you actually want to get them as quickly as possible from 1 to 2 into 3, for obvious reasons, because we want positive people and people willing to accept a change. So in the case of AI, we need to get them out of stage 1 and stage 2. And perhaps you're already thinking about people that might be in those stages, your colleagues. So how do we do this? So I've actually put this into a step-by-step. And like I said at the start of this presentation, I wanted to make this about embracing AI. So that my assumption is that you haven't got this into your colleagues yet. My assumption is that it's something that you would like to introduce into the organization because you guys know the benefits. You guys know that this is going to support them rather than hinder them. So if you're at that stage, then these steps are for you. So number 1 is working out what your colleagues are truly thinking about AI. I just gave you 4 examples that I've heard people speak about or I felt myself, but there are lots of different reasons that people would fear that. So ask yourself, do you have a good network of colleagues in your organization that you can go and ask directly? Maybe you do know, maybe you're more than likely to have some friends that you can, you know, some business colleagues that you can say, what do you know about Copilot? What do you know about whatever it might be? And how do you feel about it? You know, just asking those questions and beginning to get a taste of the land will really start to help gauge where your colleagues are feeling. Another one is you could encourage to have a working group, which means that you can spend a couple of hours with certain colleagues and you can ascertain those thoughts. Again, collecting what your colleagues are thinking about what's happening to them. Or you could also share a questionnaire if you don't feel like being face to face with them. Why not just send out a questionnaire to your business and ask for people's feedback? What do they think? What are they scared of? And how can we help? So some top tips just to talk you through that. First and foremost, be careful if you're going to start with this, be careful not to narrow your assumptions based on your tech savvy business colleagues' thoughts. Now I've seen it and I've been there myself. Majority of the colleagues that you end up making friends with outside of the IT group, they tend to be quite tech savvy. So because they're interested in what you're doing and you can communicate with them a lot. So if you're going to rely on those guys, just be mindful that they're tech savvy people, that they won't be representing everyone's thoughts. make sure on that fact then you widen your data points so that you're receiving a whole broad spectrum of different people. So obviously we've got colleagues of different ages, of different areas, of different industries, skill sets. We need to understand a broad spectrum of those. Be sure to show the colleagues some sort of demo. So there is a risk when you talk to any colleagues about AI, they don't know what you're talking about. So the best way you can do that is give them some sort of demo, whether that's just using your PC and showing how cool you're using it can be, and where it can help them. It's going to help them in the long run. So for example, let's look at Copilot together, and you can perhaps tell me how you feel about that. So you're going to start to really gauge true encounters of people's reactions. Give them time to express their thoughts. Obviously speaks for itself. Monitor and register their potential fears about it. So it's really good to gauge what your colleagues are saying, and you might find that some people have kind of an immediate front to them where they'll kind of go, oh yeah, it's fine, but you can almost see the grimace in their face, and they kind of, yeah, it's fine, yeah, don't worry about it. You know, you can actually see a fear in that, the fear in that change. Obviously, forgive me, I'm not entirely sure who's on the call as to where you are and how you're representing the business, but it might be that you've got a good business analyst that you can rely on at this point that can also do this for you. So do use them where you can, because they're pretty good at this. Lean on the management to support this exercise. Obviously, leadership is exactly what it is. We need the leadership, the management team, to lead, and therefore they have to be recognizing part of and supporting this exercise. And also start to recruit change agents. Now, this is a bit of a buzzword. Change agents in my world are basically influencers and champions. They're people that you want to rely on so that they can help influence and advocate the change, i.e. it's not up to us guys to really engage to the business. It's up to us to find those people that can engage for us. And that's the part where you can start to recruit them. Okay, so you found out what your colleagues are truly thinking about AI. The next part is to prepare strong benefits that directly translate into key messaging. Now, I'm going to be bold and say this, but if you want the business to buy into something, you're going to have to make sure that they're sold it. You're going to have to make sure that they actually understand what's in it for them. So think about some of the fear language that's being used already from the exercise before. Think about the incorrect understanding of AI. For example, the general AI. See that the movies focus on general AI. That is incorrect. We need to obviously help our colleagues to understand that that's incorrect. And also, what are the benefits to your colleagues? Why should they really start to embrace this? What's in it for them? So, top tips: squish any incorrect facts from the start. But obviously, apply democracy the way that you do this. There's no point of us going, of course they're not going to take over our roles. So we need to be polite about the way we say it, because it's natural for people to misunderstand things. Another one is creating jargon busting information. So I think in tech, we're all a little bit guilty of using too many acronyms. I've used them across all of this slide, and I've had to go back and replace some of them. But actually, there's so much jargon around AI already that creating some sort of information that people can review, whether that's on your intranet site, maybe you've got an IT SharePoint page, maybe you do an IT newsletter, whatever it is, however you communicate with the business, throw some of this in, make it a regular update just to bust that jargon with them. So what happens over time is they start to hear more positive voices, more positive news from you, and it just starts to get them in the right mindset for embracing AI. Create key messaging. So the key messaging is crucial to any kind of project that we are deploying to our business people, but specifically in this because of the fear, because of the jargon. But if you create those key messages and you focus on the benefits for them, and for them is really important at this stage, because we can have a habit of thinking about, okay, right, let's look at what benefits that's going to bring the business. But as a colleague, as a human being, What does it bring me? So for example, you can say, oh, it's regulatory compliance, but it's not going to hit the masses. They're going to go, yeah, I don't care about that. But if you were to rephrase that to say, AI helps us check our systems so that your data is kept safe, they're going to be more welcoming and accommodating to hearing that. And then where possible, ensure that the words are simple and resonate with specific teams. Finance will want to hear something to a salesperson, for example. The benefits to them will be different, but they'll also be very different to the way we consider it to be beneficial within IT. So I always like to suggest that think about somebody that you know, one of your loved ones that is working in any kind of industry, and think about how you might have had to in the past or even today explain what AI is to them. Think about the language that you'd use with them and try and resonate that when you're talking to specific colleagues of yours. And then just a massive top tip here, be sure to add information to an internal site. So whenever I work with a client, I'll always set up what I call a knowledge base. Essentially, most of the time it is a SharePoint site or obviously whatever OS that they're using. And what I will do is I'll create that page and I'll throw all of the information in one area, and then give all of my business people a link and just say, look, if you want updates, look at the site. If you want updates, just come along. It's a website, take a look, and we'll always populate that for you. So when you are going through the jargon busting information, when you are thinking about a timeline, a project timeline, or you want to put some training, whatever it might be, just create some sort of knowledge base and put it all in there for them. And that just reinforces all the messaging for them. Okay, so we've done those key messages. I'll give you some great examples or some examples of key messaging. Again, we're focusing on the people, not the business messaging. So what can AI do for me? It can increase my productivity. So the AI tool name, like I said, I promised I wasn't going to go through names. So this tool will manage those repetitive time-consuming tasks, such as scheduling meetings. Let's focus on the complex areas of our roles that are crucial to our success. So what I've done here is I've pulled out in the bold, I just wanted to highlight where I'm pulling out really positive messaging. So let's focus on the complex areas of our roles that are crucial to our success. So you're really pulling out this is crucial to you to use this tool because it's going to help you be more productive. And just a change of the way that we word it will really start to resonate with them, and it will help us become more of a marketing focus for them. Another one, enhanced decision making. So use blah blah tool to analyze the data and provide insights to help you make an accurate decision quickly. So again, just really resonating with the benefits for that person, that individual. 3, improved accuracy. Reduce errors in your tasks so that you can ensure higher accuracy in your work and improve your OKRs. Obviously, that might be industry specific, it might be KPIs, whatever it might be. But again, we're talking about reducing their time, reducing their errors, increasing their accuracy, and improving their personal development. Another one, personalized work experience. So have a more tailored work environment so that you can have recommendations on task management or when to prioritize an email that be considered urgent. And then the 5th one, enhanced collaboration. Use blah blah tool for reminders, suggestions for best meeting times, book rooms, agendas, and even discussion points. Become more efficient and work better as a team. So again, we're really honing in onto how this tool is not scary, but it will really help them. Okay. So step 3, we've done the communications. We've got some really good key benefits going out. The step 3 would be, my recommendation would be work with a focused beta group of people to validate the fit for purpose. See, I told you I did acronyms. I didn't spot that one. So have you found currently in your organizations that people aren't willing to pay for AI because they actually don't understand the benefit of AI? So do you think now it would be possible to release a pilot to a small user group of people? And if so, how big or small could that be, and where should it be contained to? So hopefully this will prompt ideas to think, actually, maybe we could put it out to, I don't know, 10 people. And the reason we'd want to do this and obviously that's based on your organisation size. But the reason we want to do this is because essentially we want to show them how good this is. We want everybody to be chomping at the bit for the products. Okay, but the way to do that is we need to kind of create this FOMO and this noise and this buzz around it. So top tips: don't have this beta group focused on IT colleagues. Most projects I've gone into, we always roll out to the IT guys first, and obviously the IT guys range from all sorts of people, as we know, but that really doesn't help. We're trying to convince the business to spend their money, not the IT guys. We all know why we want this. We're right ahead of the curve, but let's focus on some of the business people so that they can start to kind of go, actually, that's pretty good. We can see how this will actually save us money in or create a benefit for us in time, quality, cost, whatever it might be. Choose a suitable group of beta testers that are from a variety of roles. So we need to spread this group across different departments, because we want essentially the rumour mill to spread. There's no point just clustering it to one group, because that group may not talk to the rest of the people in the business. Let's put lots of feelers out there and get lots of people starting to talk about it. Essentially, you create that fear of missing out for people, and then all of a sudden, if Jane next door has got this new cool tool, I want this new cool tool. And some people can, as we know, shout loud enough to get that. Be sure that some of this group is tech challenged. Obviously, I mentioned before, we often know people in the business, and our go-to is get the tech savvies because they're easier to speak to, because they kind of speak our language. But actually, we do need some people who are technically challenged, because even though they take a little bit of time to onboard and to get the support, they become one of our biggest advocates. So again, if somebody that was absolutely terrified of AI embraces AI and they start using AI, then guaranteed they're going to shout the loudest for you. Set some clear expectation and success criteria, and include people usage measures in this. So again, this is to validate to the business why you really should be considering the new all sing and dancing tool, AI tool. We need to set those expectations of what we're trying to achieve. Make sure we've got some success criteria, but also if you recognize that you can apply some usage metrics around people embracing it, that will support you even more. I.e., I've included 3 people who we consider to be technically challenged, because we asked them and they actually felt that they didn't really feel that they wanted this product, and by the end of the beta group, they actually really want this product. It's going to really tell your story for you. Be sure that people want to be part of the trial group. Obviously, there's no point trying to push it on somebody that's too busy or just really not interested, because that's going to fall flat on its face. And be sure to have some change agents. Remember the buzzword influencers and champions as part of this. So these are people that we want to find that are going to be really positive, really encouraged, and really supportive in what we're doing, because they will advocate this, and they will advocate it up, down, left to right for you. So they will become really strong and a powerful movement for you. When you are focusing on a beta group, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but demonstrations are crucial. So I mentioned before, show people what the tool is, but give them live demonstrations. Something that I always do in my career is I'll do a live event. Pretty much, I think Shabazz mentioned that he's going to be going through with you later. He's going to go through a demonstration of something. Do something like that. Make sure you record it, and then you can put it in your knowledge base, so at least people can watch it back and they can play it back after. So if you're not able to give them much support, just give them that one support and record it, because they can always watch it back. Okay, step 4. So we've obviously gone through this beta group. There's no point leaving it there. We need to communicate the outcomes to a wider audience. That means that this is your time to really sing and shout and kind of almost push the right people in the right corners to to feel the pressure of why people might want this. So we're going to assume that you've gone through this beta group, everybody's loved it, everyone or majority of people have loved it, and they really, really want it. They've got colleagues going, hey, Jane got it, I want it. Now we just need to tell the world about it. So find those change agents that I mentioned before and see if they can help you with that. what town halls do you have in your organization? Do you have all company meetings you can discuss it in? Maybe you have a newsletter that goes out, maybe you can put it into that. Obviously your intranet sites, you guys know your communication channels. Let's look at how we can push it out. And just make sure that you create a really strong positive message about that. For example, if you did have those technically challenged people, they tend to be a good success story. Put them through, ask them to advocate for you, ask them to present, whatever it might be, just try and communicate it to that wider audience. So some top tips: have a good quality presentation slide for someone to use. I'm not suggesting that you guys, I mean, maybe you'd love to, it depends on individuals. Some people love to present, some people don't. But either way, just have a good quality presentation. So if you're going to ask a change agent to do it for you, here's their presentation. So it's nice and easy for them to do. Where possible, ensure that you can add a brand identity to this. Now, I promise I won't speak too many specifics, but for example, if you had Copilot, maybe you already have like a brand identity in your organization around Microsoft or M365 and all the things it's doing. If you can try and put some sort of brand identity immediately from the outset, that when you do go to hopefully a wider audience, because obviously we've proven the reasons for it, it will help with that future rollout because people will start to recognize it and associate to it a lot more. Communications, keep them simple. So there's a rule of thumb: make sure a 12-year-old can read it and make sense of it. If a 12-year-old can read what you're putting out, everybody can read it and understand it. If they can't, then you need to simplify it even more. And believe me, I have actually done this in the past myself. Focus on key messages and the business benefits. You've already got those. You've already made those in step 2. Put them out there. Really start to hone in on those. And what you'll find in that beta group is you might hear new benefits that you didn't think about before. Make sure that they're there. Make sure that they're communicated out. And again, like I think I already said this one, but those in the beta, use them as success stories. Jane from accounting really enjoyed the benefits of AI as she found blah, blah, blah to be useful. So when you start to put a person into this and you start to create that success story around a human that they know, it really invigorates the need and the want for something new like AI. And again, the beta group, they've gone through this. Just ask them. Just say, hey, would you please speak about this? If you really like it, I think our colleagues need it too. Help us drive the need for AI. So that's my kind of 4 steps into how hopefully you can push this out and get more awareness within your organizations. You've now got the demand. So let's assume that the business have started to buy in it and they're like, yeah, actually, we want to do this. What can you do next? What should you do next? Or perhaps you're here. Maybe you are at the start of a rollout of an AI tool. And I didn't want to blindside you all with loads of different tips and tricks along the way, but I just wanted to give a few things that I think that you should consider as part of this. The first is change management colleague support is crucial. So I've spoken already about the fear that people will have. We've spoken about the benefits that need to be created and recognized and the support that people need along the way. So for this to really, really be embedded and embraced, you really need that change, that people element of it. You really do need to take people on that journey with you. At this point, I'm assuming it will take a project team. So ensure that that they're involved, obviously, and that the rollout is happening with these new AI changes. And then lean on your existing beta group to help. So you've already got colleagues, an assumption that you've gone through the beta stage. You've got colleagues that have helped or have embraced it and gone through that change. These now become your go-to people. Did you like the benefit messaging? Did you find the training was good enough? Do you need more? What do you need? And it's at this point the beta group can really start to say, actually, guys, you just gave us one demonstration and it wasn't enough for us. Or the product is great, but it doesn't work for what we need it to work for. And at that moment, you've already got people starting to help shape what potentially the AI tool can really do for you and your organization. Top tips here. So define the success from the outset, ensure that you measure uptake of the new tool. So again, that's similar to the previous one, because it is really important. If you are going into a full rollout now, you need to define or redefine the success and make sure that you're saying, right, okay, how many people do we need to actually use this tool for us to consider it successful and it not be pulled? So, for example, if you know, again, probably teaching you suck eggs here, but if you have 100 people and 100 licenses, and then actually the uptake is only 20, then you know either something's not working or the product isn't fit for purpose, and maybe you just need to pull some licenses. Who knows? But it's important to have that measurement agreed from the start. This is what we want to achieve. Plan the project around clusters or groups of people. Now, we're all tech people. I'm sure we've all at some point been in some sort of agile development. I love agile for what we do, because it really does help us learn as we go, and obviously not spend ages trying to create a perfect tool that we know is never perfect, because business people change or they misunderstand or the communication isn't there, whatever it might be. So actually agile really works because we can adapt quickly. Same goes for embracing people in that area. The beta group step 1, 2, 3, 4 is a really great example of that. Behave in the same way, but just in clusters of groups, clusters or groups of people. And that's not necessarily go out department by department. I've done, this is my very much go-to preference when it comes to my my projects. For me, it's understanding the kind of similarities that people do within a role. So I always come to this as a great example, but PAs are obviously across lots of different departments, but they do similar roles for them. So we can cluster them as one group, and then we can say, right, we're going to now push this out to that group. And often that helps with your argument in the first place. Okay, let's try beta group. Great, 10 people love it. And let's just try 5 people in 5 PAs. Great, they love it. You know, so actually, if we drip feed the budget slower, then it tends to help. Determine each group what kind of impact or benefits will have for them. So something that I've seen a lot of in my career is we can make assumptions when it comes to rolling out a new tech product, where we think that they need only a certain part of it, or they need everything. And we kind of get into this stage of, oh yeah, we're just going to push it out that way. And actually, we don't really understand what that what the changes are and the impacts are going to be for the people that are taking that project that product on. So if you're working, let me use the PAs as the continued example. If you're working across the PAs, EAs in your organization, think about, okay, what are the benefits for them using this? What is going to change for them? For example, organizing meetings will be a massive benefit for a PA, who I assume does a lot of those, or recognizing an email what is urgent. So this is a kind of impact that's going to make a big difference. So what did that person do, or that group of people do before? What will they do now AI is there? And once you start just to do that simple exercise, it's literally, I mean, I just do it on Excel, the as is and the to be, you can then start to realize, actually, is that going to be a massive change? Do they need like real strong support, i.e. training with this, or is it something that will just happen naturally because it's so intuitive? And from that, what you can do is you can start to engage just how much support you need to give your people. But you can also start to think about the messaging around them. You've got your key messaging. Well, what benefits, what specific key messaging can you pull out to really hone into the PAs? Guys, guess what? You are going to save absolute hours on booking meeting rooms with this new tool. That's the first thing they read, because it's the biggest challenge of their role, or one of the biggest challenges of this specific part of their role. So just by understanding those individuals, just that little bit of that little exercise at the start will make a massive difference to how you can talk to them, engage with them, and support them along the way. Get change agents on board soon with the project. I know I've mentioned change agents a few times. It's part of my methodology to call them change agents, but we are talking about influencers, and champions. Influencers are people that can really support and shout and scream about the change. That they tend to resonate with you in a management role or a real supportive role, where they're the type of people who do stand up at town halls and they do talk about stuff. They're your influencers. And then your champions are people that are probably going to be your tech savvy business friends, right? These are people that are really absorbed into technology themselves, and they love all of the changes. They want to know what's going on and they want to help, and they're really supportive to their colleagues. Now, the reason I talk about change agents so much is this is time saving for us. You know, everything I'm talking about, I'm not actually saying, guys, go and do all of this yourself. It's just put in the right, I always say it's a game of chess. You put the right people in the right positions at the start of the game, ready for the middle game. Change agents are those. So by making sure that you can onboard those people, they're going to do it for you. They really, really will. You just need to give them a friendly chat or a little bit of information and ask for their support, and voila, they will do most of this for you. I mentioned before, create a brand identity. So it builds excitement and awareness early on. So it depends on the tool that you're doing. But for example, it takes 7 to 8 impressions before somebody remembers something. So it's a marketing standard fact for you to remember, I don't know, Coca-Cola, really bad example, but Coca-Cola, you have to see the logo and the brands 7 to 8 times. I think it's 7 to 8, that's 6 to 7. Oof, stats wrong. So I was 6 to 7 or 7 to 8. Sorry guys, I've got a bit blank. But let's say 8, maximum 8 times for you to then recognize Coca-Cola as a brand. So when you're talking to people and we're trying to get this buzz about AI, bearing in mind we've got a lot of fear going on, we're thinking general AI, we're thinking about losing our jobs. When you start to create a positive brand experience around that, or a brand identity around that, even if it's just, oh God, I'm using the same word again, Copilot, even if it's that brand, the more you use it in a positive way, the more positive reinforcement it makes within your colleagues. So on all of your stuff, whether it's a letter, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a knowledge-based article, put that brand identity there and continue with this exciting messaging, and people will start to resonate with that brand. And then I mentioned before, but I do really hone in on the knowledge platform. A knowledge base works. You just need to have a place where people can learn themselves about the tool. So again, this is not about us going out and being the trainers. It's taking what we can. If this is an assumption that we can't put trainers there, by the way, if you can, please put them there because they're useful. So as a change manager, obviously, but you know, we're going on the assumption that this is us doing this. So if we're doing this, create a knowledge platform. And that is a place where people can take the responsibility to come and learn themselves. And when you do that, just make sure that you put up all of the information. So have a news section if you've got one. Have information about the project or what's happening. Have information about the tool. Have the key benefits on there. Put guides, even if they're directly linked to an external website, and it's their training. If we're going to use open source, use it. Just make sure it's clear for people to use, and then they can obviously find that information themselves. And most importantly, keep the language easy to read. Again, I mentioned at the start of this, I have been in IT technology for my entire career. We can absolutely simplify our language a lot more. And I'm going to be bold and slightly rude enough to say it, but acronyms don't work. Complex information that just shows how smart we are doesn't work for the business. It shuts them down. So just keep whatever language you're using to them really easy. Remember, a 12-year-old needs to read it and understand it. So that's everything from me. I do have, obviously, I'd just like to welcome questions. I appreciate that I've kind of given you one step here. I'm happy to take questions if you have them. And just a little bit about me, I've got a link tree. So if you do want to go on to my YouTube or listen to my podcasts, or even link in with me, it'd be great to obviously link in with you too and have a poke around my website and things like that. So I'm gonna stop sharing and probably come to humans again.
Cool. Yeah, that was a really interesting talk, Nicola. Thank you. Can we all come off mute and just give Nicola a round of applause?
Don't, I'll get all blushed. Thank you.
It did start a bit of a conversation in the chat with different sort of things. So one thing I asked around was ethical use of AI, because I want to come across as a real tinfoil hat person here. But what can we do as businesses now? Someone put Microsoft have like a code of conduct and kind of a framework around it. But from an ethical perspective, what can businesses do to make sure AI is being used ethically? So obviously, your talk was very much around getting changing with the business and getting use of AI. But I mean, again, I'm going to use an example of ChatGPT. You know, in the news, people using it to do, like, students using it to write their essays and stuff like that. And I know it's small time, but as humans, we have this bad habit of abusing technology enhancements. So
absolutely.
What do you think we can do?
Really good question, and I'm going to pull it back to the days of Yammer. So when we were all rolling out Yammer, I don't know, has anyone else got Yammer anymore in our industries?
We still do.
So Yammer was an interesting one, right? Because it essentially gave us a social media platform where people could talk and potentially abuse Yammer. So through many of the rollouts that I did there, or through Yammer rollouts, the code of conduct was really, really important. And in that particular platform, it was expected that we involved HR. We did involve HR at the time, and it was put into employee handbooks. It was also put into all of the, oh my God, it's been a while since the pages. I remember the terminology now. The pages of Yammer, each one had a group with channels. So every one of them had a code of conduct. So when it comes to AI and the use of AI, obviously part of the design of that, I'm assuming you'd need to get the security teams involved anyway to understand or ascertain where your limits are with using AI. From a people aspect, it will be very much a onboarding with that agreement. I mean, it depends on what you're using and how rigid it will be or how much you can lock it down. But let's imagine you can't lock it down that much. Let's pretend it's let's pretend you're using ChatGPT, which technically is Copilot anyway. But if you're using ChatGPT, actually, what is considered okay to use and what isn't? And at that point, you can say, right, guys, we've acknowledged that in ChatGPT it can. It can be used to do X, Y, and Z in your work. Oh, actually, I've got a great idea. I know some people in accountants who have worked out how to use AI and basically do their job. They've automated their job without people knowing. And it's hilarious. And you're just kind of going, okay. But obviously, we know that that's not necessarily something they're allowed to do. So informing the people with the right information and the rules, code of conduct, and then obviously you'd always need to have monitoring around that. So again, coming back to Yammer, we'd have people that were physically monitoring Yammer, making sure there weren't certain words used and stuff like that. So I would say at this stage, that's probably what I'd recommend you do. And again, just see what parameters you can put in place from the design aspect of it. Because you're absolutely right, Shabazz, with that question. It's a really great question because people will absolutely abuse it. You know.
If you're talking about LLMs, large language models, Shabazz, if you look at OpenAI, they provide a GitHub page to guardrails and their recommendations around exactly what Nicola just been talking about, you know, what you can input into it, the kind of output that you would expect, how you would regulate it, kind of stuff in your control. So I think it's a place that's going to develop over time, especially best practices and guidelines, because right now, if you look at the NCSC page and you look for guardrails, it talks about training your staff is the first thing that the NCSC talk about, which I find really interesting. But I think it's a place that's developing at the moment. It will change over time as people get more entrenched, have a better business understanding and use cases for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something really opinionated here, but Microsoft can shoot me down, but Microsoft have this really great habit of jumping on the bandwagon and doing like a beta version of something when it's not quite ready to be there. And that's, in my opinion, what they've done with Copilot, right? So they're throwing it out, they're waiting for us to test it for them and give them feedback that they can then improve. And that's the reality of it. So, I was one of the early adopters of ChatGPT. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think I started planning my holidays on it at one point, but just seeing the changes of ChatGPT now, and actually I don't like it so much. I don't use it half as much as what I did in the first place because it's so locked down now. It's so, just locked down in what it says. So you will find that guidance comes out, but we need to recognize, as the fear curve that people are in at the moment, we're not quite there to really truly take it on.
Thank you. Good. Thank you for answering that. Still got my tinfoil hat on, but might loosen it a bit.
What other chats were there? Was any other questions?
Questions to
It was mainly just around what you were actually talking about, and we were just chatting about that really.
Right. Okay.
Just I think you mentioned about IT teams being targeted always, and it happens with anything, not just AI, but I think that they're an easy target because, in my experience anyway, because let's say that you do deploy something like AI or whatever, an AI tool, if there's an issue with it, or there's an issue with the rollout, it doesn't really affect productivity of the business as much. Whereas if you have a finance team or a whatever team. But again, that does have its drawbacks because, like you said, then you're not integrating it into the business correctly. Really, IT, we don't really make. Normally, internal IT departments don't make the business money. They're there they're a service. But they're easy target, and it's always, we need to roll this out. Oh yeah, we'll roll it out to our IT first. I've seen it all the time. But it's difficult to try and get that engagement, and that's quite important.
Yeah, and it's a really, I mean, even when I was saying it, I was kind of feeling a little bit hypocritical as well, because actually we're also good guinea pigs. Well, often if I can, I'll throw something into the IT group so I can work out, how they feel about something before pushing it out, especially if we're still testing in design of something. So there are always 9 times out of 10 we're absolutely putting into the business, into the tech team first. But I think in an example of this, I think a lot of the AI, we're not quite there with the standardization of it, or even the support that the big firms like Microsoft can give us, but also it's still bloody expensive, right? I think what somebody's saying, 20, was it, forgive me, I'm kind of out of the license models at the moment, but is it like £20 per user or something? It's really high, isn't it, for Copilot at the moment?
Imran?
A month, yeah. Somebody was saying, I saw some guys calculating it in the UC forum, but anyway, the point is it's super expensive for what it is.
30 something, isn't it?
So GitHub Copilot is £8 a month, $7.99 dollars. So it's about £6 something a month. But Microsoft Copilot, I don't know. I think it's priced differently for the different services.
Yeah. There was a chat going on in the EC forum where somebody I think from Microsoft, or maybe not, somebody was saying, it's £20 per user, and these guys are calculating and going like, it's an extra £1,000 a month, kind of something like that. And they were like shaking their head like, no way. But that's because there hasn't been enough, again, because it's been, hey, guess what, we've got this new shiny tool, it's all singing, all dancing, not really, but we're going to test it on you, messaging. Actually, what's not being shown is the benefits that can outweigh the cost of that. So if they were actually to analyze it and say, right, okay, so we're going to save X amount of hours a week on this, and we're going to de-risk that, the overall cost saving is there, so it makes it worthwhile. But until you have that interest from the management teams to really look at that cost analysis, it's a really hard sell. I still feel we've got a way to get there yet, to really onboard people. But that's why I was kind of like, right, if you did a small group now, that small group can just start that snowball, and it will get bigger as you go along. I did just see I like the message here, using AI to make us as employers more productive rather than redundant. Actually, I missed a slide out, and I did nick it from Gershon from the UC who did it, but the quote given to me, which I thought was really good: AI won't replace us. Sorry, AI won't replace your job, but somebody using AI will replace your job if you don't get on board. And I think that's a really strong message. And to me, I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because to be fair, if you're not willing to accept this, it's coming whether you like it or not. And so you need to get on board. If not, you will lose your job to somebody who's willing to use it. So yeah, so I'm glad that resonated, at least with some of my key messaging. How did you feel like, was it useful to you in your roles? Is it something that you would get involved with the business? I don't mind you saying no, it was terrible. But
No, I was actually, me and Simon were just actually chatting on WhatsApp at the same time and just saying, it's actually, as techies, we sometimes don't have as much exposure to this sort of stuff. So it's actually really interesting to hear about it. I suppose there will be certain areas we get involved with, but yeah, it was very interesting to hear around, because it's an important topic, trying to get with anything, not just AI, but like getting that business engagement. And I suppose even though you was obviously specific around AI, what you're talking about could actually be blueprinted to deploy and roll out anything technically. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite very interesting. That's what we thought anyway.
Yeah, and I think you probably already know, Shabazz, because you've heard me talk way too much now. But that's kind of what my company focuses on now. Like, I'm worked in IT my entire life. I see the amazing things we're doing, but there's just this breakdown between the way that we roll them out and the business people not really embracing them the way, because they're just not getting us and we're not getting them. And I'm really trying to bridge that gap, really trying to kind of share that knowledge, because a lot of this is just it's simple to follow. It's just having that kind of more awareness around it. So like I said, just strip out some of the bulk from your messaging to them, and that just makes an immediate improvement, because you guys deserve it, right? They don't understand at all just what we're doing in the tech teams. They have no idea. So I think I laughed at the EUC and mentioned that I was once an infrastructure PM for an NHS hospital, and the stuff that I saw there, I had no, I just did have no idea at that point in my career just how much we have to do just to keep the lights on. So, and people don't know that, and so it's a shame that they don't recognise that, just because it's this because we don't speak that language to them that resonates with them. So no, I'm glad that was useful for you. It was a stab in the dark, but I appreciate your time today. And like I said, just it'd be great to connect with me. And if you do have any questions, just pop them over. I'm happy to share ideas and stuff like that.